Strike. No one's saving those.
Sorry to cut into your Champions League night, but
No worries, that's fine.
we desperately wanted to talk to you about your views on Sunday's game. We've got the big Cup final coming up. From a Chelsea point of view, Jason, are you looking forward to the game?
Absolutely. I mean, Spurs-Chelsea games are always high on the Chelsea fans and Spurs fans' agenda. Always look out for the games. They're always entertaining, generally goals. I can't remember the last 0-0, I'm sure you'd better tell me. But yes, absolutely, it's going to be a great atmosphere. There's no love lost between the two sets of fans. And after what happened at White Hart Lane earlier in the season, Chelsea fans and the squad will be looking for a bit of revenge, I'm sure.
Well, you know, the clubs have met in such a short space of time. Obviously, 3-0 at Stamford Bridge, and then the game at White Hart Lane, 5-3, which I think even shocked even the hardened of Spurs supporters. What kind of impact will that have going into the cup final?
Difficult to tell, really. I think one thing for Spurs, it will definitely give them the confidence knowing that they can beat Chelsea, because that voodoo that Chelsea had over Spurs for so many years, and in particular at Stamford Bridge, was something that I'm sure wore very thin with Spurs fans, 3-point lane and all that sort of stuff. But over the years, recently, Spurs have shown, in particular at White Hart Lane, that they can match Chelsea, and not just match them, but beat them convincingly, which was the case in the 5-3. They absolutely deserved to win that game in all areas of the park. They were the better side. In terms of Chelsea, I think Chelsea will go into this game knowing that they're going to have a game on their hands. This is not the Spurs of old. It's a very different Spurs. It's a Spurs side where they've got a man in form up top, in Mr. Kane, who's scoring for fun, very confident side. So I think that both sides will go into it very confident, as they should, but both sides will be very aware of the opposition, and there'll be a lot of respect for each side as well.
You talk about that man, Mr. Kane, Jason, and obviously he had a fantastic game, not just against Chelsea, but has been impressive every time he stepped on the pitch. What kind of impact do you think he have, or do you think Chelsea will now have a plan to nullify his kind of performance?
Well, it's interesting the fact that Matic is not playing. Now, the 3 games that Chelsea have lost this season, 2 of them he didn't play, which was Newcastle, and the defeat Chelsea suffered at the hands of Bradford in the FA Cup. He didn't play in either of those games. He did, however, play against Spurs at White Hart Lane, and that's his poorest game that he has played in a Chelsea shirt. And you do the maths. When he doesn't play or doesn't play well, Chelsea struggle. And of course, he's not been played. I think Chelsea will probably go for a tight 3 in the middle of the park. That's what I would do. Ramirez, Oscar one side, Fabregas the other. So what you lack in the physical presence of Matic and those big long legs, you'll make up perhaps with bodies and energy with Ramirez and Oscar in there. So in terms of Harry Kane, I don't think it necessarily starts at the back 4. I think it starts from the team. Stop the service going in to him. He's excellent in the air, very good to feet. So if you can stop the ball at source, then you deal with the first part of the problem. Inevitably, he will get chances. I think Zuma will play. I think Gary Cahill that night had a run around. Zuma's a very quick, strong, very, very, very good in the air.
He's impressive.
So I think that they're the 2 things I think Jose will look at. Stop the ball getting to his feet, stop the ball at source, and then once the ball does, eventually it will, of course it will, then I think Zuma will partner JT at the back. So I think that will be something they've learned.
Well, Jose has said that the advantage is now with Tottenham, considering that Matic is not playing. Do you see it that way, taking into account that Spurs are currently in Florence preparing themselves for the next round of the Europa League? How much of an influence is the 2 together?
That again depends on how Spurs do over there. Chelsea played Liverpool in the League Cup semi-final, second leg at Stamford Bridge, and it went to extra time, and it was a hard game, really hard game. And Chelsea played Man City the following weekend, and after 60 minutes, Chelsea players looked dead on their feet. They absolutely looked dead on their feet, and Man City, I felt, missed an opportunity there. If Spurs were to go to extra time, and I think that will take a lot out. I think that, as the game wears on, potentially could be a deciding factor. So Spurs fans will go in there, and the players will hoping that they can get this game put to bed, no extra time, and deal with it and come home. It's not ideal, of course it's not.
Yeah.
But if they were to go over there and win 2-0 and coast, it's a very different scenario to going 1-1, going to extra time, potentially penalties. So I think that it's a huge factor at the moment. It can't even predict at the moment until we know the result and perhaps the performance that Spurs put in on Thursday night. But definitely, whatever happens, it's not ideal.
Where's Chelsea's biggest threat going to come from, Jason? The big, wide-open spaces of Wembley. Where do you see the big threat?
Well, if they do play a three, Chelsea, Hazard one side and Willian the other, I think they will defend together as a midfield five. The three that I've already mentioned, plus Hazard and Willian. The pace of Hazard and the pace of Willian will be what they'll look to do is catch them on the counter-attack.
Yeah.
And, of course, you know that Costa can do. Costa loves to run into those big spaces you just mentioned in behind. He loves to fight. He loves to tear up. He will be looking to play on the shoulders. He'll be looking to just unsettle Spurs at the back. So I think that the Chelsea threat will come from that. Set pieces is another one.
Yeah.
Obviously, I mentioned Zuma's height. You've got Ivanovic, who at the moment can't stop scoring. He's got a better strike rate than Costa at the moment. The threat can come all over the place, and that's the quality that Chelsea have. They don't just have one threat. Of course, Costa 17 goals in the league, although they have dried up of late. Chelsea do have goals from all over the park.
So if I could push you for a non-biased prediction, Jason, what would that be?
Troy, I think there's going to be goals.
Yeah.
I can't see it being a 0-0. I really can't.
Okay.
It could go to extra time. I think I'm going to go Chelsea by the odd goal. And it could go to extra time, but I think Chelsea will have enough overtime. I can't imagine that Jose is going to lose 2 games in succession to Spurs. That doesn't feel right, just even saying it. But I think Chelsea just have the edge by just the odd goal.
Well, you've got my guess in stitches there. Jason, thank you for taking the time out to
Cheers,
talk
boys.
to us.
Strike. No one's saving those.